I had three choices. 1. Turn the horse around, ride home, pretend I heard nothing. 2. Fire a single shot, give her a quick death, no suffering. 3. Cut the rope, save her, and maybe die with her tonight. I stood under that dead tree, looking up at the woman hanging there, blood dripping from her wrists into the sand. Dark bronze skin, black hair matted with dust, torn clothing barely covering her body. She opened her eyes, stared straight at me. No begging, no crying, just one sentence. Do it fast. I knew this was a trap. I knew the vultures were watching from the brush. I knew if I cut that rope, I'd be the next one hanging. But I also knew something else. If I left her there, if I rode away, I would never sleep again. My name is Garrett Moss. I'm 41 years old. I raise sheep on the edge of the Pico Desert. I've been alone for 4 years. Ever since my wife Abigail died of tuberculosis in our bed while I counted coins that were never enough to pay the doctor. And this right here, this moment under the dead tree, this is the last time I do the right thing. Or the first time, depending on how you look at it. The sun was burning holes in my back. The wind carried the smell of gasoline and burnt wood. I'd seen the smoke from 2 miles away. Black smoke, not natural. Someone had set a fire. I rode toward it thinking maybe a lightning strike, maybe a wagon accident. But when I got close, I smelled something else. Gunpowder. 2 men lay dead near an overturned wagon. White men. Traitors by the look of their clothes. Shot in the back. The wagon was still burning. Flames licking at the wooden wheels. Whatever they'd been carrying was gone. And above it all, tied to the branch of that skeletal cottonwood, was her. Her head hung forward, hair covering her face, arms stretched above her, wrists bound with rough hemp rope that had cut deep into the skin, blood running down her forearms, pooling at her elbows, dripping. She wore what was left of a cotton dress, torn at the shoulder, ripped at the hem. Her feet were bare, covered in cuts. I could see the marks of a whip across her shoulders, old scars and fresh wounds layered together. This wasn't just a murder, this was a message. The vultures did this. A gang that ran these borderlands like their own kingdom. They trafficked guns, liquor, people, mostly people. Women and children disappeared into their wagons and were never seen again. I'd stayed away from them for 4 years, kept my head down, sold my wool, bought my supplies, went home. The unwritten rule out here was simple. Mind your business, stay alive. But here I was, breaking that rule. I urged my horse forward. She lifted her head at the sound of hoofbeats. Her eyes found mine. Dark eyes, deep brown, almost black. They held no hope, just acceptance. Please, she whispered, her voice like gravel. Do it fast. She thought I was one of them, come to finish the job. I dismounted, pulled my knife from my belt. Her eyes widened slightly. Not fear, just recognition. This is how it ends. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? I walked to the base of the tree, reached up, started sawing at the rope. Wait. Her voice cracked. What are you doing? Saving you, I said. Don't. It's a trap. They're waiting. They want someone to cut me down. Then they'll take you too. I know. I kept cutting. Then why? Because 4 years ago, I didn't save my wife. I told myself it was because I didn't have money, but the truth is, I was scared. Scared to lose everything trying. So I did nothing. And I lost her anyway. The rope frayed, split. She fell. I caught her, or tried to. She was heavier than I expected. Not the weight of weakness, the weight of muscle, of someone who'd fought her whole life. We both went down, her on top of me, knocking the wind from my chest. She rolled off, gasping. I got to my knees, helped her up. She swayed. Fever burning through her skin. I could feel it through her torn dress. Can you ride? I asked. She nodded. Then we go. Now. I lifted her onto my horse, climbed up behind her, kicked hard. The horse bolted. And that's when the shot rang out. The bullet hit my left shoulder, punched through muscle, exited out the back. I screamed, nearly fell. But I grabbed the reins with my right hand, kept going. More shots, dirt exploding around us. The woman in front of me didn't make a sound, just held onto the saddle horn, her knuckles white. I leaned low, pushed the horse harder, blood running down my arm, soaking into my shirt, warm and wet. Behind us, voices, shouting, cursing. The sound of horses mounting up, but we had a head start. And my horse knew the way home. We rode for 20 minutes, maybe more. Time stretched and compressed. Pain does that. Makes seconds feel like hours. By the time we reached my property, I was lightheaded. The world tilting, my vision narrowing to a tunnel. I saw my house, small, wood and stone. A chimney made from river rocks, a single window facing east. I slid off the horse, fell, got back up, reached for her. She was already dismounting, moving like someone who'd ridden horses all her life. Inside, I managed to say. She supported me, her arm around my waist, stronger than me right now. We stumbled through the door. I pointed to the bed, the only bed where Abigail had died. She helped me sit. Then she moved fast, found my medical kit on the shelf, found water, clean cloth, whiskey. "This will hurt," she said. Her first full sentence. "I know." She poured whiskey into the wound. I bit down on a leather strap, tasted copper and salt. The room spun. She worked quickly, packing the wound, wrapping it tight. Her hands were steady, practiced. "You've done this before," I said through clenched teeth. "Many times." She finished bandaging me. Then she sat back, swayed. Her eyes rolled up. She collapsed. I caught her before she hit the floor, used my good arm, lowered her onto the bed. She was burning up, skin hot as a coal. I got water. Wet a cloth, placed it on her forehead, did the same for her wrists. The rope burns were infected, red and swollen. I cleaned them as best I could, wrapped them in strips torn from an old sheet. Then I sat in the chair by the bed, my own shoulder throbbing, blood seeping through the bandage. Outside, the sun set, the desert cooled. Night came fast out here, one moment light, the next moment dark. I must have passed out, because when I opened my eyes, it was full dark. The only light came from the dying fire in the hearth, and she was awake, sitting up in bed, watching me. "You're awake," I said. "Stupid thing to say. You should rest," she replied, her voice still rough but stronger. "So should you," she shook her head. "I don't sleep anymore." I didn't ask why. I had a feeling I knew. We sat in silence for a long time, the fire popping. Somewhere outside a coyote howled. Another answered. "What's your name?" I finally asked. "Asha," she said. "Asha," I repeated. "What does it mean?" "Hope. In my language, your language. Apache?" She nodded. "Mescalero. I'm Garrett Moss." She studied me, her dark eyes moving over my face, my hands, the blood on my shirt. "Why did you save me, Garrett Moss?" "I told you. Because I didn't save my wife. That's not a reason to save a stranger, maybe not. But it's my reason." She looked down at her bandaged wrists. "They'll come back, the vultures. They don't let things go." "I know." "Then why bring me here? Why not leave me in town, at the mission?" "Because," I paused, tried to find the right words. "Because I'm tired of being afraid, tired of doing nothing, tired of waking up every morning in this empty house wondering what the point is." She nodded slowly, like she understood. Maybe she did. "Tell me about them," I said. "The vultures. Why were you with those traitors?" "I wasn't with them. I was tracking them." "Tracking?" She took a breath. Let it out slow. "My son. His name is Kaya. He's 8 years old. 3 months ago he was taken, stolen, by men who traffic children across the border." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Stolen? I was working at the mission in Santa Fe, teaching. Kaya was playing outside with other children. I heard screaming, ran out, saw a wagon, men with guns. They took 4 children. Kaya was one of them. "God," I breathed. She continued, her voice flat, controlled. "I've been following them for 90 days. I tracked them to 6 different towns, asked questions, offered money I didn't have, Finally, I found those two traitors. They knew something. They'd seen the wagon, knew where it was going. And the vultures found me first. They killed the traitors before I could ask. They tried to take me. I fought. Killed one of them. So they decided to make an example. Hang me as bait. Wait for someone stupid enough to cut me down. Then kill us both. But I cut you down. Yes, she looked at me. You did. I leaned back in the chair, my shoulder burning. How did you kill him? The vulture? With my hands. She said it simply, like it was nothing. But I saw something in her eyes, not regret, not pride, just fact. She was capable of killing, and she would do it again. Can I see something? She asked. What? The photograph. On the mantel. I turned, saw what she meant. The small tin-type frame, the only photograph I owned. Abigail, taken a year before she got sick, wearing her Sunday dress, hair pinned up, slight smile. I got up, winced at the movement, brought it to her. She took it carefully, studied it. She was beautiful. Yes, you loved her, more than anything. Asha handed the frame back. Then she reached into the pocket of her torn dress, pulled out something wrapped in oilcloth, unfolded it carefully. Inside was a photograph. This is Kaya. I looked, saw a boy, maybe 7 or 8 in the picture, dark skin, black hair cut short, wearing a white shirt, too big for him. Standing next to a white man, the man had his hand on the boy's shoulder. Both were smiling. Who's the man? I asked. My husband. I looked up, surprised. Your husband? Was? He died 2 years ago. I'm sorry. She folded the photograph back into the oilcloth, put it away. His name was Thomas Reed. He was a priest. A priest? She nodded. He gave up the priesthood for me, for Kaya. We were married in the eyes of God, but not the eyes of the law. Mixed marriages aren't legal here, but you married anyway. We did. For 3 years we were happy. Thomas taught at the mission. I helped him. Kaya learned to read, to write. We had a small house, a garden. It was good. What happened? The vultures happened. Thomas witnessed something. A wagon full of children being transported south. He reported it to the marshal. The vultures found out. They came at night. Shot him in front of the mission. Left him bleeding on the steps. Jesus. Kaya and I ran. Hid. But we had nothing. No money, no protection. The mission took us in. For a while. Then 3 months ago, they came back. Took Kaya. Took 3 other children. I tried to stop them. They beat me, left me for dead. But you didn't die. No, she looked at me. I don't die easily. We sat in silence again. Both of us carrying our dead. Both of us wounded. Both of us too stubborn to quit. You need to sleep, I finally said. Real sleep. I told you, I don't sleep. Then at least rest. Close your eyes. I'll keep watch. She looked like she wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. She lay back, her eyes closing. Within minutes, her breathing deepened, evened out. She was asleep, despite what she said. I got up, checked the window. Nothing but darkness and stars. Checked the door. Barred it. Then I took my rifle from the rack, sat back down in the chair, and waited. Dawn came slowly, gray light creeping under the door. I hadn't slept. My shoulder ached like fire, but I was awake, alert. I heard it before I saw it. A sound outside, not the wind, not an animal, something else. I stood, moved to the window, looked out. My sheep, the small flock I kept near the house, they were scattered, running, panicked, and in the middle of the pen. One sheep lay dead, throat cut, blood soaking into the dirt. I moved to the door, unbarred it, stepped outside. The air was cold, my breath visible, and there, on my door, painted in blood, still wet, was an X below it. Words scratched into the wood with a knife. We know you have her. 3 days. I heard movement behind me. Asha stood in the doorway, looking at the message, her face unreadable. You should let me go, she said quietly. I shook my head. If you go, they'll find you in an hour. And if I stay, then we fight. She looked at me. You can't even hold a gun right now. Your shoulder is useless. I smiled. Grim, then you'll have to teach me how to fight like you. She didn't smile back, but something changed in her eyes. A decision made. She stepped out, looked at the dead sheep, at the bloody X, at the words. 3 days, she said. That's not much time. Then we better get started. We spent that day preparing. Asha moved like someone who'd done this before. She walked the perimeter of my property, noted the approaches, the weak points, the places where men could hide. I followed, carrying tools, trying not to wince every time I lifted my left arm. Here, she pointed to a narrow path between 2 rocks. They'll come this way, it's covered. Good for an ambush. So we set a trap, I asked. She nodded. Several traps, we worked. She showed me how to dig a pit, not deep, just enough to turn an ankle, to slow someone down. We covered it with branches and dirt, made it invisible. We strung wire across paths, knee-high, painted black, invisible in darkness. Tripwire that would send a man face first into the ground. We moved my oil barrels, positioned them near the house, ready to light, ready to create a wall of fire if needed. By afternoon I was exhausted, sweating. My shoulder bleeding through the bandage again. Asha made me sit, changed the dressing, her fingers gentle but efficient. You were a healer, I said. Before. Before what? Before everything. She didn't answer right away. Then, my mother was a healer. She taught me. Before the soldiers came. Before Fort Grant. Fort Grant. I knew that name. A military outpost. Site of a massacre years ago. Apache women and children killed. Officially called a skirmish. Unofficially called murder. You were there, I said quietly. She kept wrapping the bandage. Yes, I was 14. My mother died there. My father, my younger sister. I escaped. Barely. I'm sorry, everyone's sorry. She tied off the bandage. But sorry doesn't bring them back. No, it doesn't. That evening we sat by the fire, eating beans and hardtack, not talking, just existing in the same space. Finally I asked, do you think he's still alive, Kaya? She stared into the flames. I have to believe he is, because if he's not, then none of this matters. Not the running, not the fighting, not any of it. You'll find him. She looked at me. How do you know? Because you're not the kind of person who gives up. She almost smiled. Neither are you. That night I gave her the bed again. I slept in the chair, rifle across my lap, my shoulder throbbing. But I didn't care. For the first time in 4 years. I wasn't alone in this house. Wasn't surrounded by ghosts and regrets. There was someone else breathing, someone else alive, and somehow that made everything bearable. I woke to the smell of coffee. For a moment I thought I was dreaming, thought Abigail was in the kitchen, making breakfast like she used to, humming that song she loved. Then I opened my eyes, saw Asha at the stove, pouring water into the old pot. She'd found my coffee tin, ground beans with the mortar, made a fire in the stove. She glanced over, saw me awake. You should stay in the bed tonight. That chair will ruin your back. I'm fine, you're not. But you're stubborn. She handed me a cup. Drink. We have work to do. The coffee was strong, bitter, perfect. I drank it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. When was the last time someone made me coffee? Years. Too many years. Thank you, I said. She nodded, sat across from me, her own cup in her hands. We need to talk about them, the vultures, what they'll do. Tell me. She took a breath. There are 7 of them, maybe 8. The leader is a man named Cyrus Holt. He's smart. Careful, he doesn't rush. He'll send scouts first, test our defenses, see how we react. And then? Then he'll attack, but not head on. He'll use fire, smoke, try to flush us out, make us run. That's when they take you. Out in the open, panicked. Easy, so we don't run. No, we don't run. I set my cup down. What about the law? The marshal? She laughed, a short, bitter sound. The marshal works for whoever pays him, and the vultures pay well. I went to him 3 months ago, told him about Kaya. He wrote it down, said he'd look into it. I never heard from him again. So we're alone. We've always been alone. Her eyes met mine, out here, at the edge of everything. There is no law, no justice, only what you take, what you fight for. I nodded, understood. Then we fight. We spent the second day reinforcing the house. Asha showed me how to create firing positions, small holes in the walls, just big enough for a rifle barrel. We could shoot from inside, stay protected. We moved furniture, turned the table on its side, positioned it near the door. A barricade. We filled buckets with water, lined them up, in case of fire. "Tell me about him," I said while we worked. "About Thomas." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "He wasn't like other white men. He actually listened when I spoke. He didn't try to fix me, didn't try to save me. He just listened." "How did you meet?" "At the mission. I was sick. Fever. I'd been walking for days, trying to get away from the reservation, from the memories. I collapsed outside the church. Thomas found me, brought me inside, nursed me back to health. And you fell in love." "Not right away." She smiled slightly. "At first I thought he was foolish, too gentle for this world, but then I realized gentleness is its own kind of strength. I thought about Abigail, how gentle she'd been, how that gentleness had made me better, made me want to be better." "Thomas sounds like a good man," I said. "He was." Asha's voice cracked slightly. "He was the best man I ever knew, and they killed him for it." We worked in silence after that, both lost in our memories, both carrying weight that never got lighter. That afternoon, something changed. I was outside, checking the tripwires, making sure they were taut, when I heard hoofbeats, fast, multiple horses, coming from the east. Asha was beside me instantly, gun in hand. "Get inside." But I saw them before we could move. 3 riders, coming hard, dust rising behind them. And in the middle, between 2 men, was a girl, young, maybe 16. Her hands bound, mouth gagged. She was fighting, kicking. But they held her tight. They rode past my property, didn't stop, didn't even look, just kept going, west, toward the setting sun. Asha's hand gripped my arm, hard. "That's them, the vultures." "How do you know?" "I know." We watched until they disappeared. Then Asha turned to me, her face pale. "They're taking her to the barn." "What barn?" 5 miles west, old homestead. Abandoned years ago, that's where they keep them. The children, before they move them south. "How do you know this?" "Because that's where they held Kaya, before they sold him." My blood went cold. "Sold him?" She nodded, her eyes wet. "I found out 2 weeks ago, from a drunk vulture in a saloon. He told me they sold 4 children, to a rancher up north, a man named Dutch Mercer. He collects them, keeps them as servants, workers, slaves." I felt sick. "We have to go to the marshal. Make him listen." She grabbed my shirt. "There is no time. By tomorrow they'll move that girl, and whoever else they have. We go tonight. We free them. Or we don't, but I'm not waiting." She was right. I knew she was right, but the thought of walking into a vulture's den, with a useless shoulder and an Apache woman, against 7 armed men, it was suicide. But then I thought about that girl, bound and gagged, fighting. And I thought about Kaya, 8 years old, sold like livestock. And I thought about all the times I'd done nothing, all the times I'd looked away. Not this time. "All right," I said, "we go tonight." We prepared quickly. I loaded my rifle, my pistol. Asha checked her knife, the same knife she'd used to kill a vulture. We took canteens, rope, matches. Before we left, Asha turned to me. "If I don't come back," she pulled out the oilcloth photograph, "give this to Kaya. Tell him I never stopped looking." I took it. "But you're coming back." She didn't answer, just mounted her horse. We rode in darkness, no moon, just stars. The desert was cold at night, wind cutting through my coat. My shoulder ached with every movement, but I ignored it, pushed through. After an hour, Asha stopped, pointed. "There." I saw it. An old barn, sagging roof, broken fence, light glowing through the gaps in the wood, smoke rising from a chimney. "How many?" I whispered. She studied it. 3 outside, maybe 5 inside. 8 total, maybe more. We tied our horses far back, approached on foot, slow, careful. The ground was rocky here. Good cover. We got within 50 yards. I could hear voices now, men laughing, the sound of bottles clinking. They were drinking. Good. Drunk men make mistakes. Asha touched my arm, pointed to the back of the barn. There's a window. We go in there. I nodded, followed her. We moved like shadows, low, silent. My heart pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it. The window was high, broken glass still in the frame. Asha climbed up first, looked inside, held up 4 fingers, 4 children. Then she froze. Her whole body went rigid. I climbed up beside her, looked in, and saw him, a boy, about 8, dark hair, dark skin, sitting in the corner, hands tied, wearing a dirty white shirt, too big for him. Kaya, Asha breathed. It's him, it's my son. But something was wrong. The boy wasn't crying, wasn't fighting. He just sat there, staring at nothing. Empty eyes. What's wrong with him? I whispered. Asha's voice broke. They broke him. Before I could respond, the barn door opened. A man walked in, tall, thin, wearing a black hat. He moved to the children, kicked one of them, a little girl. She whimpered. Shut up, he growled, or I'll give you something to cry about. The girl went silent. The other children didn't move, didn't breathe, just froze. The man walked to Kaya, knelt down, smiled. And you're special. Gonna make someone a nice little worker. Quiet, obedient, just how they like them. Kaya didn't react, didn't even blink. The man laughed, stood, walked back out. The door slammed shut. Asha was shaking, tears streaming down her face. We have to get him, now. I grabbed her. Wait, we can't just run in, they'll kill us. Kill the children, we need a plan. She looked at me, eyes wild. I don't care about plans, that's my son, and he needs you alive, not dead. I held her shoulders. Listen to me, we do this right. We get all of them out, alive, but we have to be smart. She took a shaking breath, nodded. Okay, what do we do? I thought fast. Fire. We start a fire. Create chaos. While they're distracted, we get the children out the back window, and if they come after us, then we shoot. We moved quickly. I circled to the front of the barn, found the wagons, poured oil on the wheels, on the canvas. Asha did the same to a stack of hay bales near the side. On my signal, I whispered. She nodded. I struck a match, dropped it. The oil caught instantly, flames roaring up. I ran to the next wagon, did the same. Asha lit the hay, fire exploding into the night. Inside the barn, men shouted, feet running. The door burst open. 3 men with buckets, trying to put out the flames. I circled to the back window. Asha was already there, breaking the remaining glass, reaching in. Come on, she called to the children. Come here, hurry. The little girl moved first, crawled to the window. I lifted her out, set her down. The next child, a boy, maybe 6, then another girl, and finally Kaya. He didn't move, just stared. Kaya. Asha's voice broke. Baby, it's Mama, come here. No reaction. She climbed through the window, dropped inside, ran to him, wrapped her arms around him. He's alive, she sobbed. He's alive. But he still didn't move, didn't hug back, just sat there. Asha, I hissed. We have to go, now. She picked him up, carried him to the window. I pulled him through. He was light, too light, like he hadn't eaten in weeks. The other children were already running. I pointed. That way, stay low. Asha climbed out. We ran, all of us, into the darkness. Behind us, the barn was fully engulfed, flames reaching for the sky, men shouting, cursing, a gunshot, then another. Bullets kicking up dirt near us. I turned, fired back. 3 shots, 1 man fell. Keep running, I yelled. We reached the horses. I lifted 2 children onto mine. Asha put Kaya and the other girl on hers. We mounted up, kicked hard, and rode into the night. Behind us, the barn collapsed, sending sparks spiraling into the black sky, the screams of men fading into distance. We rode for an hour, maybe more, until we were sure no one was following. Then we stopped. Let the horses rest. Let the children breathe. Asha held Kaya, rocking him, talking softly. But he didn't respond, didn't speak, just stared. I looked at the other children, the little girl who'd been kicked. Her name was Luce. She was 16. From a village south of the border, taken 3 weeks ago. The others were younger, 6, 7 years old, all of them hollow-eyed, traumatized. What do we do with them? I asked quietly. Take them to the mission, Asha said. Father Miguel will keep them safe. And Kaya? She looked down at her son, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know if I can reach him. You will, I said. Give him time. She nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes, the terrible knowledge that sometimes damage can't be undone. Sometimes children are broken beyond repair. We rode on, toward Santa Fe, toward the mission, toward whatever came next. But before we arrived, Luce spoke, her voice small. Thank you for saving us. I nodded. You're safe now. She shook her head. No, we're not. None of us are. Not until they're all dead. Every single one of them. And she was right. The vultures would come. They wouldn't stop. Not for us. Not for anyone. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. We reached the mission just before dawn. The ride from the burning barn had been long, cold. The children huddled against us, silent, too scared to cry, too broken to speak. Father Miguel opened the door before we could knock. An old man, white hair like mountain snow, bent back. But his eyes were still sharp, still kind. He saw the children, saw their torn clothes, their hollow faces. He didn't ask questions, just stepped aside. Come in, all of you, quickly. The mission was stone, cool inside despite the desert heat building outside. Candles flickered. The smell of incense mixed with old wood, a place of sanctuary, of mercy. We brought the children inside, 4 of them. 3 girls, 1 boy, the youngest was maybe 6. The oldest was Luce, 16, the one who'd been kicked, the one who'd led us to the barn. Asha still carried the littlest girl, a child of maybe 7, Apache. She wouldn't let go of Asha's neck, wouldn't open her eyes. Father Miguel touched Asha's arm gently. His voice was heavy with sorrow. I heard about Thomas. I'm so sorry, my child. Asha nodded, couldn't speak. Her throat was too tight, her eyes too full. The priest looked at me, studied my face, my bloody shoulder still seeping through the bandage, my hands shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. And you are? Garrett Moss. I helped her. He studied me a moment longer, then nodded. Helped her. Or helped yourself. I didn't have an answer. Maybe both. Maybe neither. I was too tired to know. Father Miguel turned to the children. Come, let me get you cleaned up, fed. You're safe here. I promise you, you're safe. But Luce stepped forward. Her young face was hard, determined. Father, there are more, at least 20 more children, being held in different places, farms, ranches, private homes, all across the territory. The old priest's shoulders sagged. I know, child, I know. Can't you do something? Her voice rose. Go to the law? Make them listen? Father Miguel shook his head slowly. I've tried, for years. I've written letters, made reports, begged the marshal to investigate. But the law doesn't care about missing children. Not Apache children, not Mexican children, not Chinese children. Only white children matter, and even then, only if their parents have money and influence. That's not right. Luce's hands balled into fists. That's not justice. No, the priest said quietly. It's not, but it's the world we live in. Asha finally spoke. Her voice was raw from smoke and screaming. Then we changed the world. Father Miguel looked at her, saw something burning in her eyes, something dangerous, something necessary. How? She turned to me. We go after Mercer. I felt my stomach drop. Dutch Mercer, the rancher who'd bought Kaya, one of the richest men in the territory, protected by money, by lawyers, by politicians in his pocket, by 30 armed men on his property. That's suicide, I said quietly. Maybe. Asha set the little girl down gently, knelt to her level, whispered something in Apache. The child finally released her. "But we're going anyway. With or without you." Luce stepped forward. "I'll go with you." "No." Asha shook her head firmly. "You're a child. I'm 16. Luce lifted her chin. "And I know where his ranch is. I was there. I lived there for 2 months before I escaped." Everyone turned to look at her. She continued, her voice steady despite the fear I could see in her eyes, the fear she was pushing down, burying, the way survivors do. "Mercer's ranch is north. 2 days hard ride, maybe 3 if you're careful. He has high walls, guard towers, dogs, at least 30 men, maybe more. It's not a ranch, it's a fortress." "How did you escape?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "One of the guards. His name was William. He was kind, or as kind as someone like that can be. One night he unlocked my door, told me to run, told me to never look back, never tell anyone what I saw inside." "Why would he do that?" Asha asked. Luce's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Because he saw what Mercer does to the children, the things he makes them do, the way he—" She stopped, swallowed hard. It made him sick. He said he couldn't watch anymore, couldn't be part of it. The room went silent. Even Father Miguel looked away. We all knew what she meant. We didn't need her to say it. Some horrors don't need words. "I can't ask you to do this," Asha said to me. "To risk your life for my son, for children you don't even know. You're not asking." I met her eyes. "I'm choosing." "Why?" She searched my face. "Really? Why would you do this?" I thought about that, about all the reasons I could give, because it's right, because someone has to, because I'm tired of being a coward. All true. But the real reason was simpler, harder to say. Because 4 years ago, I watched my wife die. And I did nothing. I just held her hand and told her it would be okay. But it wasn't okay. And I haven't been okay since. I've been dead, just breathing, just existing, not living. Maybe this fight, this impossible thing, maybe this is my chance to feel alive again, even if it kills me." Asha held my gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, we leave at first light." "No," I said. "We leave now, today, before word spreads about the barn, before Mercer knows we're coming. Surprise is the only advantage we have." Father Miguel brought us food, bread, hard cheese, dried meat, water. We ate quickly, mechanically, fuel for the body, nothing more. Asha tried to feed Luce, but the girl shook her head. "I can't. My stomach. It won't. You need your strength." Luce looked at her. "I need justice more." While we prepared, Father Miguel pulled me aside. His old hand gripped my arm, stronger than it looked. "Mr. Moss, what you're planning, it's noble. But it's also madness, I know. These children, the ones here, they need you to succeed. But they also need you to survive, to come back. Don't throw your life away for revenge. It's not revenge," I said. "It's rescue." "Is it?" He studied my face. "Or is it penance? Are you trying to save that boy or save yourself?" I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Maybe I didn't know. The priest sighed. "Then at least take this." He pressed something into my hand, a small silver cross, worn smooth from decades of prayer. It belonged to Thomas. Asha gave it to me after he died. She said she couldn't bear to look at it, but I think she'd want the boy to have it. When you find him, I'll make sure he gets it. We left as the sun climbed higher. 3 of us, Asha, Luce, me. 3 people against an army, against money, against power, against a system built to protect men like Mercer and grind people like us into dust. But we rode anyway. The first day was long, hot. We followed Luce's directions, staying off the main roads, using game trails, dry washes, anything to avoid being seen. That night we camped in a narrow canyon. No fire. Too dangerous. We ate cold food, drank warm water from our canteens that tasted like metal and desperation. "Tell me about your wife," Asha said suddenly, her voice soft in the darkness. "What was she like?" I leaned back against the canyon wall, looked up at the stars, brilliant and cold and indifferent to human suffering. She was. I searched for words that felt true. She was light in a dark place. She made everything better just by being there. She could find beauty anywhere, in a dying flower, a broken fence post, even in me. You loved her very much. I did. I paused. Still do. I looked at Asha. Do you still love Thomas? Every single day. She wrapped her arms around her knees. People think grief fades with time, but it doesn't. It just changes shape, becomes part of you, like a scar that never fully heals. You learn to live with it, but it never really goes away. We sat in silence, two broken people, held together by shared pain, by impossible hope, by the kind of desperate courage that looks like madness to everyone else. Luce spoke from where she lay, her voice small, young. Do you think we'll die tomorrow? I was quiet for a moment. Then, honestly, probably. She nodded. Okay, as long as we take some of them with us. I looked at this girl, 16 years old, already harder than most grown men I'd known, already accepting death like an old friend she'd been expecting. We're not going to die, Asha said firmly, steel in her voice. We're going to win. How do you know? Luce asked. Because we have to. Asha's jaw was set. Because if we don't, children will keep disappearing, keep suffering, keep dying, and I won't allow that. Not anymore, not ever again. I believed her, in that moment. Sitting in the darkness with the stars wheeling overhead, I believed we could do the impossible. Or maybe I just needed to believe it. Maybe belief was all we had left. The second day, we rode harder, faster. Luce said we were close, maybe 4 hours, maybe 5. As we crested a ridge just before noon, she pointed. There. I saw it. Mercer's Ranch, sprawling across the valley below like a small town. High wooden walls, guard towers at each corner, with men silhouetted against the sky. The main house sat in the center. 2 stories, white paint gleaming in the sun. Beautiful, if you didn't know what happened inside those walls. How many guards? Asha asked. Her voice all business now, no emotion, just calculation. Luce squinted, counting. I see. 8 on the walls, maybe 6 walking the grounds, plus Mercer's personal men, the ones who never leave his side. Call it 20 total, maybe more. Against 3 of us, I said. Great odds. We don't fight them all. Asha was studying the layout with intense focus. We go in quiet. We find Kaya. We get out. No shooting unless absolutely necessary. And if it becomes necessary, then we shoot. She looked at me, her dark eyes hard. Are you ready? My shoulder was throbbing. My hands were shaking. I was terrified. Every rational part of my brain was screaming at me to turn around, to ride away, to survive. But I nodded, ready. We stayed on that ridge, hidden in the rocks, watching, learning. Luce pointed out the routine. Guard changes every 4 hours. Dogs released at night. The weak points in the patrol pattern, the places where shadows gathered thick. As the sun began to set, Asha asked the question I'd been dreading. Luce, where would Mercer keep Kaya, specifically? Luce bit her lip, her face troubled. The children the ones he keeps close. They're not in the cellar with the others. They're in the main house, in rooms on the 2nd floor, near his bedroom. My blood went cold. How many? When I was there, she thought. 5, maybe 6. All boys, between 8 and 12. He calls them his. Her voice cracked. His collection. Asha's hand gripped her knife so hard her knuckles went white. Which room? East side, 2nd floor, 3rd window from the left. That's where I saw them. Through a crack in the door, I put my hand on Asha's arm, felt her trembling, not with fear, with rage, with a mother's fury that could burn down the world. We'll get him, I promised. Tonight. As full darkness fell, we moved, left the horses tied in a hidden draw, approached on foot, slow, careful. The ground was open here, exposed. If someone looked our way, if a guard's eye caught movement, we were dead. But we made it to the wall, pressed our backs against the rough wood, breathing hard. Above us, a guard walked past, boots heavy on the walkway. We froze, didn't breathe, didn't move. He passed, kept going. There! Luce pointed. A gap in the boards where the wood had warped and split, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through if they were thin, if they were desperate. Asha went first, slipping through like smoke, then Luce, then me. My bad shoulder screaming as I pushed through, but I made it. We were inside. The compound was bigger up close. Multiple buildings, barns, stables, bunkhouses, storage sheds. And in the center, glowing with lamplight like a beacon, the main house. We need to split up, I whispered. Asha and I go for Kaya. Luce, you find the cellar, free the others, get them to the horses. Luce nodded. But what if? No, what ifs. Asha cut her off. You get those children out, no matter what. Even if we don't make it back, you get them out. Understand? Luce swallowed hard, nodded again. I understand. We separated, Luce melting into the shadows toward the back of the compound. Asha and I moved toward the main house. Every step felt like walking through water, time stretching, distorting. A dog barked somewhere. We froze, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would break my ribs. The barking stopped. We kept moving. The back door to the main house was locked, but it was an old lock, simple. I pulled out my knife, worked the blade into the mechanism. My hands were shaking. Come on, come on. Someone's coming, Asha hissed. Footsteps, a guard making his rounds, getting closer. The lock wouldn't give. I kept working, sweat dripping into my eyes, blurring my vision. Garrett. The guard was almost on top of us. I could hear him whistling. Some old tune. Happy, unaware. The lock clicked. Gave. I pushed the door open. We slipped inside, closed it just as the guard rounded the corner. We heard him pass. His whistling fading. We were in a kitchen, clean, modern, copper pots hanging from hooks, a wood stove, marble counters, the kitchen of a rich man, built on the backs of stolen children. We moved through it, into a hallway, stairs leading up. We climbed, each step creaking, each creak like a gunshot in the silence. At the top was a landing, doors on either side, and from one door, the third from the left. Just like Luce said, light, and a voice, a man's voice, deep, cultured, saying something we couldn't hear. Then a child's voice, small, obedient. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Asha grabbed my arm, squeezed, hard. That's him. That's Kaya. Wait. I held her back. We need to see what we're walking into. How many people? What weapons? We crept to the door. It was open just a crack. I peered through, saw a bedroom, large, expensive, a 4-poster bed, bookshelves, a writing desk, and sitting at that desk was Dutch Mercer. He was older than I'd imagined, maybe 55, silver hair combed back, wearing an expensive smoking jacket, reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked normal, like someone's grandfather, not a monster, and standing beside him, pouring whiskey from a crystal decanter into a crystal glass, was a boy. About 8 years old, dark hair, dark skin, wearing a white shirt and black pants, too formal, like a little servant. His movements were mechanical, practiced, precise. No expression on his face, just doing as he was told. Mercer took the glass, sipped, smiled. Good boy, you're learning well. Soon you'll be perfect, just like the others. The boy said nothing, just stood there, hands at his sides, waiting for the next command. I felt Asha trembling beside me, saw tears streaming down her face in the dim light, saw her hand white-knuckled on the knife handle, saw her about to kick the door in, about to charge in screaming. I grabbed her, pulled her back. Wait, not yet. She turned on me, eyes blazing. That's my son in there, with that monster. I know. But if we go in now, loud, without a plan, he'll have guards here in seconds. We'll all die, including Kaya. She was breathing hard, fast, on the edge of losing control. Then what? I looked back through the crack. Mercer was standing up, stretching, yawning, saying something about going to bed. The boy was backing away, moving toward a small door on the far side of the room. We wait, I whispered, until Mercer is asleep. Then we take Kaya quiet. No noise, no fight. Just grab him and go. And if he wakes up, then we kill him. Asha looked at me, saw I meant it, nodded. We waited. It felt like hours, probably 20 minutes. We heard Mercer moving around, getting ready for bed, the sounds of water pouring, of clothes being removed, of a man settling in for the night. Finally, silence. We gave it another 10 minutes. Then I slowly, carefully, pushed the door open. It creaked. I froze, but no one stirred. The room was dark now, only moonlight coming through the window. Mercer was in bed. I could hear him snoring. Deep, regular. He slept like a man with no conscience, no guilt. The small door on the far side was closed. I moved toward it, each step careful, testing the floorboards before putting weight down. Asha followed, her knife out. I reached the door, tried the handle, locked. Of course it was locked. He locked the children in at night like animals in cages. I pulled out my knife again, started working the lock. It was taking too long. My hands were shaking worse now. Come on, come on. A floorboard creaked behind me. I turned. Mercer was sitting up, eyes open, staring at us. For a moment, no one moved, no one breathed. Then Mercer opened his mouth, started to shout, to call for guards. Asha moved like lightning, crossed the room, hand over his mouth, knife to his throat, one smooth motion, years of survival distilled into pure violence. "Don't," she hissed. "Don't make a sound. Don't even breathe hard." Mercer's eyes were wide, terrified. The confident man gone. Just pray now. Caught. I went back to the lock, worked faster, harder. It clicked, gave. I pushed the door open. Inside was a small room, no windows, one candle burning, and 5 boys, sleeping on thin mattresses on the floor or trying to sleep. Some had their eyes open, staring at the ceiling, at nothing. "Which one is Kaya?" I whispered. One boy sat up, looked at me. He was small, thin, dark hair, dark eyes, about 8. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out, just air. His voice was gone, taken, broken. But I saw something in his eyes. Recognition? Hope? Fear? I couldn't tell. "Kaya?" I asked quietly. "Are you Kaya?" The boy nodded. Once, slowly. "Your mother is here. We're getting you out." His eyes went wide, wet. He shook his head, hard, fast. Made sounds, not words, just desperate sounds. "It's okay. We're not going to hurt you." But he kept shaking his head. Then he pointed. "At the other boys. At them." I understood. "We take all of them." I turned back to the bedroom. Asha still had Mercer pinned. I could see her hand shaking, see how much she wanted to cut, to end him. But she held back. 5 boys, I told her. "We take them all." She nodded, then looked at Mercer. "You're coming too. You're going to walk us out of here. Quiet. Calm. Tell your guards everything is fine. If you try anything, if you make one wrong move, I'll cut your throat and let you bleed out on your own expensive carpet." Mercer nodded, terrified. "Good." We got the boys up. They moved like ghosts, silent, trained to be silent. We led them out, through the bedroom, into the hallway, down the stairs. Asha had Mercer in front, knife hidden under his jacket, pressed against his spine. We made it to the back door, opened it. The night air hit us, cold, free. And that's when we heard it. Shouting, gunfire, coming from the cellar area. Luce had been discovered. Everything went wrong at once. Guards came running, torches being lit, dogs barking, the compound erupting into chaos. "Run," I yelled at Asha. "Get the boys out. I'll cover you." But before we could move, Mercer twisted, broke free, shoved Asha hard. She stumbled, fell. He ran, screaming, calling for his men. I pulled my gun, fired, hit him in the leg. He went down, screaming louder. Guards everywhere now, shooting. Luce appeared, running. 4 children with her, all crying, all terrified. "This way," I yelled. Pointed toward the gap in the wall. "Everyone go, now." We ran. All of us. Me and Asha. Luce, 9 children. through the compound, dodging bullets, jumping over barrels, sliding through mud. Kaya ran beside his mother. She had his hand, wouldn't let go. The other boys followed. Their training working for us now, following orders, running when told to run. We reached the wall, started pushing children through, one by one. Luz went first, catching them on the other side, then the children, one after another, so small, so thin. They slipped through easy. Asha pushed Kaya through, then turned to me. Go, I'll hold them. No, together, remember? A bullet hit the wall next to my head. Wood splinters. I fired back. 3 shots, 2 men fell, more coming. 12, 2 dozen. We were surrounded. Then I heard it, a sound I'd never been so happy to hear, a bugle, military, sharp and clear in the night. The front gate exploded inward, not broke, exploded, blown apart with powder charges, and through the smoke and dust came cavalry, blue uniforms, rifles, horses. Leading them was Sheriff Caleb Frost, and beside him, Colonel Harrison from Fort Bliss, and behind them, 30 soldiers. Drop your weapons, Frost's voice boomed across the compound. By order of the United States Marshal, you're all under arrest. Mercer's men looked at each other, looked at the cavalry, looked at their bleeding boss crawling in the dirt. And one by one, they dropped their guns, raised their hands. It was over. Caleb Frost dismounted, walked straight to me. His face was grim, hard. But I saw something else there, too. Respect, maybe, or just exhaustion. I got your message, he said. What message? I was confused, bleeding, barely standing. Father Miguel sent word 3 days ago, told me everything about the trafficking, about Mercer, about what you were planning. He looked at the children huddled behind me. I just wish I'd gotten here sooner. How did you? I gestured at the cavalry, at Colonel Harrison. The colonel and I are old friends, Frost said. When Miguel's letter came, I took it straight to him, showed him the evidence, the testimonies from the children you saved. He didn't hesitate. Colonel Harrison walked over. Older man, maybe 60, gray beard, scarred face. He looked at the main house, at Mercer still bleeding on the ground, then at me. Mr. Moss. His voice was gravel and granite. Father Miguel speaks very highly of you. Says you're either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, I said. He almost smiled. Well, stupid or not, you did what no one else would. That counts for something. He turned to his men. Secure the compound. Find every child. Document everything. This place is now evidence. Soldiers scattered, moving with military precision. Some tending to the children, others rounding up Mercer's men, others beginning to search the buildings. Asha was sitting on the ground, Kaya in her lap. She was holding him so tight, rocking him, crying, whispering in Apache, words I didn't understand but felt anyway. Mother words, love words, safe words. Kaya still wasn't speaking, but he was crying now, soundless tears streaming down his face, his small hands gripping his mother's dress, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go. I knelt beside them. Asha looked up at me. Her face was a mess. Tears, dirt, blood. But she was smiling, really smiling. Thank you, she said, her voice breaking. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I reached out, touched Kaya's hair, gently. The boy flinched, then relaxed, looked at me, really looked at me. I pulled the silver cross from my pocket, the one Father Miguel had given me, held it out to him. This belonged to your father, I think. I think he'd want you to have it. Kaya took it, held it in his small hand, looked at it, then clutched it to his chest. His mouth moved, trying to form words, but nothing came out. Just air. It's okay, Asha said softly. You don't have to talk, not yet. Not until you're ready. But Kaya kept trying, his face scrunching with effort, his mouth forming shapes. Finally, barely a whisper, barely audible, but there, Mama. Just that, just one word, but it was everything. Asha broke, completely, pulled him closer, sobbed into his hair, and I turned away, gave them privacy. This moment was theirs, not mine. I found Luce. She was sitting with the other children, 9 of them total, 4 girls, 5 boys, ages ranging from 6 to 14. All of them looked shell-shocked, traumatized, but alive. They were alive. You did good, I told her, really good. She looked up at me, her young face old, so old. Did I? 3 of them didn't make it. 3 children died before I could reach them. They were too scared, too broken. They wouldn't run, just sat there. So the guards. She didn't finish, didn't need to. I sat beside her. You saved 9 lives tonight. 9. That's 9 children who get to grow up, who get to have futures, because of you. Don't forget that. Don't let the 3 you couldn't save erase the 9 you did. She nodded, but I could see it in her eyes. The guilt, the weight. It would never fully leave her, just like my guilt about Abigail would never fully leave me. We carry our dead, always. It's the price of surviving. A soldier came over, young, baby-faced. He couldn't have been more than 20. He looked sick, green, like he'd seen something that changed him. "Sir," he said to Colonel Harrison, "you need to see this, in the cellar, under the main house. What is it? Just please come." We followed. Me, Asha with Kaya, Caleb, the colonel, down into the cellar, down stone steps into darkness, into hell. The cellar was large, stone walls, dirt floor, and chains. So many chains, bolted into the walls, into the floor, into the ceiling. Some still had shackles attached. Some had blood on them. Old blood, new blood. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the wall, the far wall, covered floor to ceiling with photographs, tin-type photographs, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all children, different ages, different races, all with the same dead eyes, the same broken expressions, and below each photograph, a name, a date, a price. "This is his ledger," the soldier said, his voice shaking. "Every child he's ever bought, ever sold, ever." He couldn't finish. Colonel Harrison's jaw was clenched so tight I thought his teeth would break. How long? How many years? The soldier checked a notation, based on the dates. At least 15 years, maybe longer. 15 years. Caleb breathed. Jesus Christ. 15 years. I felt Asha grip my arm, tight, painful. I turned, saw her staring at one photograph, one specific photograph. She walked to it, touched it with trembling fingers. It was a boy, maybe 9, Apache, wearing traditional clothing, smiling, actually smiling, the only child in all those photographs who looked happy. Below it, a name, Nantan. Below that, a date, 1879, and below that, a single word, deceased. That's... Asha's voice broke. "That's my brother, my little brother. He disappeared when I was 14, after Fort Grant. I thought he died in the massacre, but he didn't. Mercer had him, all this time. I could have. She collapsed. I caught her, held her. She sobbed against my chest. Years of not knowing, of hoping, of wondering, all crashing down. The answer worse than the question. Kaya was staring at the photograph too, his small hand reaching out, touching it. He looked at his mother, then back at the picture. And I realized he'd never met his uncle, never knew he existed. But he knew now, knew his mother's pain, knew why she'd fought so hard. "We have to destroy this place," Caleb said, his voice cold. "Burn it to the ground, every board, every stone, erase it." "No," Colonel Harrison said. "We document it, every detail, every photograph, every name. Then we use it. We track down every person involved, every buyer, every seller, every accomplice, and we make them pay, all of them. That'll take years." "Then it takes years." The colonel looked at him. "This ends. Now. Today. No more children disappear into the night. No more parents left wondering. No more monsters like Mercer operating with impunity. We end this, whatever it takes." "And what about him?" Caleb pointed up, toward where Mercer was being held. "What happens to him?" "He goes to trial," Harrison said. "A real trial, federal court. We make an example of him, show everyone that money and influence don't put you above the law. Not anymore. We brought Mercer up from the cellar. He was bandaged now, leg wrapped, face pale, but alive, conscious. He saw the children, saw Asha holding Kaya, saw Luce standing with the others, and he smiled, actually smiled. "This won't stick," he said, his voice still confident, still arrogant. "I have the best lawyers in the territory. I have senators, judges. The governor himself owes me favors. I'll be out in a month. And when I am, I'll come for all of you, every single one." Colonel Harrison walked up to him, stood close, spoke quiet. But everyone heard. "Mr. Mercer, I've been a soldier for 40 years. I've fought Comanche, Apache, Mexican bandits, Confederate guerrillas. I've seen every kind of evil a man can do to another man. But you're something special. You're the kind of evil that hides behind silk and smiles, the kind that shakes hands with priests and politicians while children scream in your cellar." Mercer's smile faltered. "So here's what's going to happen," Harrison continued. "You're going to Fort Leavenworth, military prison, federal jurisdiction. Your lawyers can't reach you there, your senators can't help you, and your governor, he's going to be too busy explaining why he took money from a child trafficker. But I'm a civilian. You can't. You operated on federal land. You trafficked children across state lines. That makes it federal. That makes it mine." He nodded to two soldiers. "Take him. Put him in irons. He doesn't speak to anyone, doesn't see anyone, doesn't have contact with the outside world until the trial. Understand?" "Yes, sir." They dragged Mercer away. He was screaming now, threatening, cursing. But no one listened. No one cared. He was nothing now, just another prisoner, another monster being put in a cage. We stayed at the ranch that night. Too dangerous to move the children in darkness. Too much chaos. Colonel Harrison's men set up a camp, brought in medical supplies, food, water, blankets. Asha and I sat with Kaya. He was eating now, slowly, small bites, like he'd forgotten how, or been punished for eating too much. Asha fed him, gentle, patient, not pushing. Luce sat nearby, the other children around her. She'd become their protector, their leader, the one they looked to. So young, but so strong. "Tomorrow," Colonel Harrison said, "sitting down with us, we take everyone to Fort Bliss, get them medical attention, contact their families when possible. For those without families, Father Miguel has agreed to take them, find them homes, give them futures." "And Mercer?" I asked. "When's the trial?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. We're moving fast, before his people can organize, before they can buy witnesses, threaten judges. We do this clean, by the book, but fast." "Will it be enough?" Asha asked. "Will he actually hang?" Harrison looked at her, at Kaya, at all the children, then back at her. "If there's any justice left in this world, yes, he'll hang." We slept that night surrounded by children, protected by soldiers for the first time in days, maybe weeks. We felt safe, felt like we could breathe, rest, let our guard down. I dreamed of Abigail, but it wasn't a nightmare. She was in our garden, planting flowers, humming that song. She looked up, saw me, smiled, and then she faded. Not in a sad way, just released, free, like she'd been waiting for me to be okay, to live again. And now that I was, she could go. I woke with tears on my face, but not sad tears, grateful tears, goodbye tears. Asha was awake too, watching Kaya sleep. She looked at me, saw my face, understood without asking. She reached over, took my hand. We sat like that, in the pre-dawn darkness, 2 survivors, 2 fighters, 2 people who'd found each other in the worst place, and somehow, impossibly, made something good from it. The sun rose, red and gold, painting the desert in fire, a new day, a new beginning. The fight wasn't over, the trial was coming. Mercer's people would resist. There would be threats, danger, more battles to fight, but for now, in this moment, we had won. We'd saved 9 children, stopped a monster, made the world a little bit safer, a little bit better. And sometimes, that has to be enough. 2 weeks passed at Fort Bliss. 2 weeks of waiting, of testimony, of lawyers in expensive suits arriving in carriages, demanding Mercer's release, threatening lawsuits, threatening careers. But Colonel Harrison held firm. An old cavalry officer, gray beard, scarred hands. He'd seen things, done things. He knew evil when he saw it. Mercer stays in chains, he told the lawyers, until the trial, until justice is served. The lawyers left, angry but powerless, for now. I spent those weeks healing, my shoulders slowly knitting back together, the pain fading to a dull ache. I could lift my arm again, hold a rifle. That was something. Asha spent her days with Kaya. They barely left their room. I could hear them sometimes, through the walls, her voice soft, singing Apache songs, teaching him the old words, the old ways, bringing him back to himself. Luce worked in the fort kitchen, insisted on earning her keep. But every evening she found me, sat with me, talked about the children we'd saved, the children we couldn't save. "Do you think it matters?" she asked one night. "What we did? 15 children out of hundreds. Is that enough?" "It matters to those 15, I said. "It matters to Kaya," she nodded. "But it's not enough." "Not nearly enough." "No," I agreed. "It's not." On the 14th day, word came. The trial would begin tomorrow. In Red Mesa, the territorial courthouse. Judge Aldrich presiding. A hard man, but fair, or so they said. That evening, Asha found me, standing on the wall, watching the sun set over the desert, the sky bleeding red and orange, like the land itself was wounded. "Are you ready?" she asked. "For tomorrow?" I shrugged. "As ready as I'll ever be." She stood beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched. "I spoke to Kaya today, about testifying, about telling the judge what happened." "And?" He said yes. Her voice was quiet, proud, scared. "He's terrified, but he wants to do it, wants to make sure Mercer never hurts anyone again. He's brave, your son. He gets it from his mother." She smiled, sad and distant. "No, he gets it from Thomas. His father was the brave one. I'm just stubborn. Stubborn kept you alive, kept you searching. That's its own kind of brave." We stood in silence, watching the light fade, the stars beginning to emerge, cold and distant and eternal. "Garrett," she said finally, "after tomorrow, after the trial, what will you do?" "I don't know. Go back to my ranch, I suppose, my sheep, my quiet life. And if Mercer's lawyers win, if he goes free, then I'll kill him myself." She looked at me, searching my face. "I believe you would. Yes, I would." She took my hand, held it, her palm rough, calloused, strong. "If that happens, I'll help you." We rode to Red Mesa at dawn, a convoy, soldiers in front and back, Mercer in a covered wagon, chained hand and foot. We followed, Asha, Kaya, Luce, and me. Father Miguel met us there, so did Sheriff Frost. The courthouse was packed, people standing in the aisles, spilling out onto the street. Everyone had heard. The great Dutch Mercer, on trial for trafficking children. Half the crowd thought it was a travesty. How dare they arrest such an important man? He brought jobs, money, civilization to this savage land. The other half wanted him hanged, today. No trial needed. Judge Aldrich banged his gavel. Order. I will have order in this court. The room quieted. The judge was 70 if he was a day. White hair, liver spots on his hands. But his eyes were sharp, clear. He looked at Mercer, then at us, then back at Mercer. "The charges are human trafficking, kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder. How do you plead?" Mercer's lawyer stood. A fat man, slicked hair, expensive watch. "Not guilty, Your Honor. These charges are preposterous. My client is a respected businessman, a pillar of the community." The judge waved him down. "Save it for the trial. Prosecutor, your opening statement." The prosecutor was younger, thin, nervous, but determined. He stood, straightened his jacket. "Your Honor, Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence will show that Dutch Mercer systematically purchased children stolen from their families, from missions, from reservations. He kept them as slaves, worked them, abused them, and when they were no longer useful, he sold them to others like himself. Lies. Mercer's lawyer shouted, "Complete fabrication." The judge banged his gavel. "You'll have your turn. Sit down." The first witness was Father Miguel. He took the stand, placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. "Father," the prosecutor began, "how many children have gone missing from your mission in the past 5 years?" The old priest's voice was heavy. 43. 43 children? Yes. And did you report these disappearances? Every single one, to the sheriff, to the marshal, to anyone who would listen. And what was done? Father Miguel looked at the jury. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The defense lawyer cross-examined. "Father, isn't it true that many of these children simply ran away, went back to their tribes, to their families?" "Some did. Yes, but not all, not most." "But you can't be certain they were kidnapped." "I saw them taken." The priest's voice rose. "I saw wagons, men with guns. I heard children screaming. So yes, I'm certain." The lawyer sneered. "Or perhaps your memory is failing. You're quite old, after all." Judge Aldrich leaned forward. "Counsel, one more comment like that, and I'll hold you in contempt. The witness may step down." Next came Sheriff Frost. He testified about the barn raid, about finding 15 children in Mercer's cellar, about the conditions they were kept in. The defense tried to discredit him, suggested the raid was illegal, that the evidence was tainted. But Frost held firm, steady, unshakable. Then came Luce. She walked to the stand, small, young, but her back was straight, her voice clear. She told her story, how she was taken from her village, how she was sold to Mercer, how she lived in his cellar for 2 months, how she was finally let go by a guard who couldn't stomach it anymore. The courtroom was silent. Even Mercer's supporters looked uncomfortable. The defense lawyer tried to break her. "Miss Luce, isn't it true you were paid by the prosecution to testify?" "No. Isn't it true you're here illegally, that you crossed the border without papers?" "Yes, but that doesn't make me a liar." The lawyer smiled. "Doesn't it? You're a criminal. Why should this jury believe anything you say?" Luce looked at him, then at the jury. "Because I have nothing to gain by lying. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for citizenship. I'm asking for justice. For me. For the children still trapped. For the ones who didn't survive." The lawyer had no response to that. Finally. "Kaya." Asha held his hand as they walked to the stand. He was so small, a child in a man's world. But when he sat down, when he looked at the jury, I saw Thomas in him, that same quiet strength. The prosecutor was gentle. "Kaya, can you tell us what happened?" "In your own words." Kaya's voice was soft. "I was playing, outside the mission, with my friends. A wagon came, men grabbed us, put us inside. We drove for a long time, days. I don't know how many. And then? Then we came here, to the ranch. The men took us to the cellar, gave us water, bread. Not much. We were cold, scared. Did you see Mr. Mercer?" Kaya looked at Mercer. The man stared back, no emotion on his face. "Yes, he came to the cellar, looked at us, pointed at me, said I was." The boy's voice caught, said I was perfect. Perfect for what? For serving. For working in his house. He took me upstairs, gave me clothes, taught me to pour drinks, to clean, to stand still, to not speak unless spoken to. "And if you disobeyed?" Kaya lifted his sleeve, showed the jury his arm, bruises, scars, old and new. He hit me, with a cane, with his fists. Once he locked me in a closet for 2 days. No food, no water, just darkness. The courtroom erupted. Shouts, gasps. The judge banged his gavel. "Order, order." But the damage was done. Even Mercer's supporters were shaken. Some were leaving, walking out, unable to stomach it. The defense lawyer tried to recover. "Kaya, Isn't it true you attacked Mr. Mercer, stabbed him repeatedly? Yes. So you admit to assault, to attempted murder. I admit to defending myself. Kaya's voice was steady now. He kept me prisoner, hurt me. I had to stop him. The lawyer had nothing else. He sat down, defeated. The prosecutor rested. The defense called its witnesses, character witnesses, business partners, a priest from another diocese who swore Mercer was a good Christian man. But it didn't matter. The jury had seen Kaya's scars, heard Luce's testimony, seen the evidence. After 3 days of testimony, the judge called for closing arguments. The prosecutor was brief. The evidence speaks for itself. Dutch Mercer is guilty. The only question is what punishment fits his crimes. The defense was longer, rambling, desperate, but unconvincing. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood. We find the defendant, Dutch Mercer, guilty on all counts. The courtroom exploded. Cheers, shouts. Mercer's lawyer was already filing appeals, but it didn't matter. The verdict was in. Judge Aldrich banged his gavel one final time. Mr. Mercer, you have been found guilty of heinous crimes against children, against humanity. I hereby sentence you to 25 years of hard labor at the territorial prison. May God have mercy on your soul, because I have none. Mercer was led away, still silent, still emotionless, but I saw something in his eyes as he passed. Not fear, not regret. Calculation. He was already planning, already scheming. This isn't over, I said to Asha. No, she agreed. It's not. The days after the trial were strange, quiet. We stayed in Red Mesa while the paperwork was processed, while Mercer was transferred to prison, while his properties were seized, sold at auction. The children were returned to their families, when families could be found. Those without families stayed at the mission. Father Miguel promised to care for them, find them homes, give them futures. Luz chose to stay with Father Miguel, help him with the others. She's too young. The old priest told me, but she's already seen too much. Might as well put that experience to use. Kaya was talking more now, slowly, haltingly, but talking. Asha never left his side. They were healing together, learning each other again. One evening I found them in the mission garden. Asha was teaching Kaya to plant seeds, tomatoes, peppers, herbs. The boy's hands were gentle, careful, placing each seed just so. Your father loved gardens, Asha said softly. He said they were proof that something good can grow, even in hard ground. Kaya nodded, planted another seed. Can I ask you something, Mama? Anything. Why did that man save us? He pointed at me, standing in the doorway. He didn't know us. Why did he help? Asha looked at me, smiled slightly. Because he's good, the way your father was good, the way I want you to be good. Kaya thought about that. Then, I want to thank him. He walked over to me, stood there, looking up. Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for bringing my mama to me. I knelt down, eye level with him. You're welcome, Kaya, and you can just call me Garrett, okay? He hesitated. Then, are you going to marry my mama? I nearly choked. That's not something I've thought about. You should. She's really nice, and you're really nice. And we need a papa, Kaya. Asha's voice was embarrassed. That's not, we don't. She sighed. Go wash up for dinner. The boy ran off, leaving us alone. I stood, looked at Asha. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, she said. He doesn't understand. It's okay. I paused. But would you, if I asked? She finally looked at me. Asked what? Marry me. The words hung there, in the garden, among the seeds and the promise of growth. I hadn't planned to say them, didn't even know I was thinking them, but now they were out. Real. Asha's eyes filled with tears. Garrett, She stopped, started again. Thomas has only been gone 2 years. I loved him, still love him, I know. I stepped closer. I'm not trying to replace him. I could never do that. But I care about you, about Kaya, and I think, maybe. We could build something together, something good. She wiped her eyes. What about your ranch? Your life? Bring Kaya. Live there. Help me rebuild. Make it a home again instead of a tomb. And if people talk, if they judge, let them. I took her hands. I've spent 4 years caring what people think. Being safe. Being alone. I don't want to do that anymore. She searched my face. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She smiled. Then yes. Yes, I'll marry you. We were married a week later, in the mission chapel. Father Miguel presiding. Kaya stood between us, one hand holding mine, one hand holding his mother's, binding us together. Sheriff Frost attended. Colonel Harrison. Loose. A handful of townspeople who'd come to respect us, to see us not as outsiders, but as people who'd done something right. The ceremony was simple. Brief. I do. A kiss. And suddenly, I had a family again. We left Red Mesa the next day, headed back to my ranch, our ranch now. The ride was long, but peaceful. Kaya rode between Asha and me, pointing at birds, at rock formations, at clouds, being a child again. When we crested the final hill and saw the ranch below, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, maybe even joy. But as we got closer, I saw something wrong. Smoke rising from the property, not the good smoke of a cooking fire, the black smoke of destruction. We rode faster, reached the gate, found it open, broken. Inside, my sheep pen was empty, the animals scattered or stolen. The barn door hung off its hinges, and on the front of my house, painted in red, was a message. Indian lover, traitor, leave or die. Asha's face went pale. Garrett, we should go. No, I dismounted. This is our home. I'm not leaving. But they'll come back. They'll hurt Kaya. Then we'll be ready. I walked inside. The house had been ransacked, furniture broken, supplies destroyed, but it could be fixed. All of it could be fixed. Kaya stood in the doorway, looking scared. Is this where we're going to live? Yes, I said firmly. This is home. But those people, the ones who wrote on the wall, they don't want us here. I knelt down, looked him in the eye. Sometimes people are afraid of what's different, of what they don't understand. They think if they scare us away, their fear will go away too. But we're not leaving, because this land, this home, it's ours, and no one has the right to take it from us. Kaya thought about that, then nodded. Okay, then we stay. We spent the next week rebuilding, cleaning, repairing. Asha was strong, stronger than me in some ways. She could lift beams I struggled with, could work from sunup to sundown without complaint. Kaya helped where he could, fetching tools, holding boards, learning, always learning. At night we'd sit by the fire, exhausted. Asha would sing Apache songs, songs of her people, of resistance, of survival. Kaya would fall asleep in her lap, and I would watch them. This family I'd somehow been given, and I'd feel grateful. But I also kept my rifle close, my pistol loaded, because I knew they'd come back. The men who'd written that message, the men who couldn't accept change. They came on a Wednesday evening, just before dark, 4 of them. On horseback, faces covered with bandanas, torches in hand, I saw them coming. Got Asha and Kaya into the cellar, told them to stay quiet, stay hidden. Then I took my position, window facing the gate, rifle ready. They rode up, stopped at the fence. One of them shouted, "Moss, we know you're in there. Come out. Talk." I said nothing, just waited. "We don't want trouble." The man continued, "We just want you gone. Take your squaw and her half-breed kid. Go back to wherever you came from." My finger tightened on the trigger, but I held fire, waited. "You got 1 hour, then we burn this place to the ground, with or without you in it." They turned, rode off, but only to the ridge, where they waited, watching. I went to the cellar, opened the door. Asha looked up. "How many?" "4. We can take 4. "I know, but I don't want to." I paused. "I want to end this, permanently." "How?" "I have an idea, but I need you to trust me." She climbed out. "Always. I rode out alone, hands raised, rifle left behind. The 4 men saw me coming, surrounded me, guns drawn. "Easy," I said. "I just want to talk." The leader, big man, scar on his cheek, dismounted. "Talk fast." "I know what you think of me," I said. "I know you think I've betrayed you, betrayed our kind, but I haven't. I've just chosen to see people as people, not as colors, not as tribes, just people." "Pretty speech," the man spat, "but we don't care." "Then care about this. Tomorrow morning, Sheriff Frost is riding out here to check on us, to make sure we're safe. If he finds this place burned, finds us dead, he'll come looking, and he'll find you. You're bluffing." "Am I? Try me. Burn my house, kill my family, see what happens." The men looked at each other, uncertain now. I leaned forward. "Or you could ride away, leave us alone, let us live our lives, and you live yours. No one gets hurt, no one goes to jail, everyone wins." The leader studied me, long and hard. Then he spat again. "You're not worth it," he mounted up. "But hear me, Moss, this ain't over. You're not welcome here, you never will be." "Maybe not," I said, "but I'm staying anyway." They rode off, into the darkness. I watched until I couldn't see them anymore. Then I went back, found Asha waiting, armed, ready to fight. "They're gone," I said, "for now." She lowered her rifle. "But they'll come back, in different ways, with different threats." "I know. But we'll face them, together." She kissed me, then, long and deep. When we broke apart, she smiled. "I didn't marry you for your optimism." "What did you marry me for? Your stubbornness." She laughed. "It matches mine." The next day, Sheriff Frost did ride out. Not because I'd arranged it, but because he'd heard rumors, threats. He brought 2 deputies, just in case. "You have trouble?" he asked. "Some," I admitted, "but we handled it." He looked around. At the repairs. At Asha and Kaya working side by side. At the paint still on the wall. "You need help. You ask." "Understand?" "I understand." "Good." He tipped his hat to Asha. "Ma'am." To Kaya. "Son." Then he rode off. Life settled after that. Not easy, but settled. We worked the ranch, raised sheep, sold wool, kept to ourselves mostly. But slowly, very slowly, some neighbors started to come around. An old woman, Mrs. Chen, Chinese, whose husband had been killed in the mines. She brought us vegetables from her garden, said nothing, just left them on the porch and walked away. A Mexican family, the Garcias, who'd lost their son to the same traffickers. They came to thank us, stayed for dinner. We became friends, even some white families, not many, but some, who saw us not as a scandal, but as survivors, as people who'd done something brave. A year passed, then 2. Kaya grew, learned to read, to write, to work the ranch like he'd been born to it. He still had nightmares, still woke screaming sometimes, but less and less. He was healing. We all were. One spring morning I was fixing the fence, Kaya helping me, holding nails, handing me tools. Asha walked up, hand on her belly, smiling. "I have news," she said. I looked at her, at that smile, at her hand, and I knew. "We're having a baby?" She nodded. "Due in October." Kaya looked confused. "A baby? Like a real baby?" "Yes." Asha knelt down. "You're going to be a big brother." His face lit up. "Really?" "Really." He threw his arms around her. "This is the best day ever." I stood there, hammer in hand, feeling something I hadn't felt since Abigail died. Pure, uncomplicated, joy. That evening we sat on the porch, watching the sunset, the 3 of us, soon to be 4. The land stretched out before us, red and gold and endless, beautiful in its harshness, in its refusal to be anything but what it was. "Tell me something," Asha said. "Do you ever regret it, cutting that rope, starting all this?" I thought about it, about everything that had happened, the pain, the danger, the fear. And then I thought about Kaya, about the child growing inside Asha, about this life we'd built from nothing. "No," I said finally, "I don't regret a thing, even though it's been hard, especially because it's been hard. Easy things don't mean anything. But this, I gestured at the ranch, at them. This means everything. She leaned against me. We sat there, silent, as the sun dipped below the horizon, as the stars began to appear, as the desert cooled and quieted. And somewhere in that moment, between day and night, between what was and what would be, I felt Abigail, not as a ghost, not as a regret, but as a blessing, a part of me that had led me here, to this, to them. Thank you, I whispered, to her, to God, to whatever force had brought me to that hanging tree a year ago. Thank you for giving me another chance. Kaya fell asleep between us, his head on Asha's lap, his hand holding mine, and as the night deepened, as the first coyotes began to howl, I thought about mercy, about how people use that word as if it's weakness, as if it's giving in. But I knew better now. Mercy isn't weakness. It's the hardest kind of strength. It's choosing to save someone when it would be easier to walk away. It's choosing to love when it would be safer to stay numb. It's choosing to build when it would be simpler to let everything burn. My name is Garrett Moss. I'm 43 years old. I live on a ranch at the edge of the desert, with my wife, my son, and soon, another child. We're not accepted by everyone. We're not safe from all threats, but we're here. We're alive. We're together. And that, in this hard land, in this broken world, that's everything. October came. Our daughter was born, healthy, strong, loud. We named her Abigail, after my first wife, and Hope, after Asha's name, Abigail Hope Moss, a name that carried both past and future, both grief and joy. Kaya was fascinated by her, held her carefully, sang to her, the same songs Asha had sung to him, the old songs, the ones that would never die as long as someone remembered them. Father Miguel came to visit, to baptize little Abigail. He was older now, slower, but still fighting, still saving children, one at a time. How many now, I asked him. How many have you saved? He thought about it. In the 5 years since we stopped Mercer, maybe 200, maybe more. It's hard to keep count, 200 lives. Because we acted, because we didn't walk away. Sheriff Frost came too, brought news. Mercer died in prison last month, stabbed by another inmate, a man whose daughter had been one of Mercer's victims. I waited to feel something, relief, satisfaction, justice. But all I felt was tired. Tired of violence, tired of revenge, tired of the endless cycle. Good, was all I said. It's done then, Frost nodded. It's done. He looked at Kaya, at little Abigail, at Asha. You did good, Moss, real good. We all did, I corrected. You, Father Miguel, Luce, all of us. He tipped his hat, rode off, back to town, back to the next fight. Because there's always a next fight, but for us, for now, we had peace, imperfect, fragile, but real. We had our ranch, our family, our life, built from ashes and hope and one man's decision to cut a rope instead of walking away. Years from now, when Kaya and Abigail ask me about those days, about the trial, about the fight, about how their mother and I met, I'll tell them the truth. I'll tell them about mercy, about choosing the hard right over the easy wrong, about how one decision, one moment, can change everything. And I'll tell them this: the world is cruel. It will hurt you. It will take from you. It will make you want to turn hard, to turn cold, to stop caring. But don't. Don't let it win. Choose mercy. Choose love. Choose to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Even when it's dangerous, even when it's stupid, even when everyone tells you to walk away. Because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us good. Not our strength, not our power, but our willingness to suffer, to sacrifice, to give everything for someone else, for a stranger hanging from a tree, for a child trapped in a cellar, for a future we might never see. That's mercy. That's love. That's what saves us all. My name is Garrett Moss, and this is my story, the story of the last mercy I gave and the first mercy I received, the story of how I found my family, my purpose, my life, All because I made one choice. On one burning afternoon, under one dead tree, I chose to cut the rope. I chose to save a stranger. I chose to risk everything, and in doing so, I saved myself. The end.